We are now heading to Washington, D.C., where we are joined by Behnam Ben Taleblu, a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
So let's talk about this more. Do you believe Israel is actually using this buildup to pressure the U.S. and Iran, or is it a military action truly on the table and realm of possibilities?
Well, I think with respect to Israel, military action has always been on the table. It's really been more of a matter of timing, volume, scale, coordination, and things of that nature. I think, especially after 2024, when Israel, for the first time after decades, was able to flip the script against the Islamic Republic and prove that there is at least a limited military option against the regime. I think the Israelis, if they're planning about it, training for it, then certainly it is a meaningful option on the table. The thing I would stress, however, is to not take the CNN report as really the end-all be-all of what Israeli policy would be. This is merely a snapshot when we really need to see a story of change over time.
Also, with Trump reportedly blocking an Israeli strike on Iran earlier this month, could that happen again, considering that it seems like there is not the warmest relationship reportedly at this time between the two world leaders?
Well, I wouldn't overread much into some of what the press has been making about the potential cold shouldering of Israel. In fact, if you look at Iranian media, they actually are blaming themselves for not doing more to create more of a gap between America and Israel. So, no own goals by America and its partners here, please. But with respect to, Trump and potential Israeli military attack, I think the language in the initial New York Times report was waved off. And we have to remember that as casually as a strike could be waved off, it could just as casually be waved back on. And that's why I think military readiness and preparedness by both America and Israel can have a strong deterrent message against the Islamic Republic. And when reports like these do surface and make its way into the open source press, in my view, they actually bolster President Trump's hand in negotiations with the Islamic Republic of Iran, because he has a credible military option to signal and fall back on. He can say, look, you can deal with me or you can deal with the Israelis.
Right. If Israel in the end does strike, what kind of response do you think we could expect, not just from the U.S., but from the world?
Well, I would say most importantly from Iran. Listen, I think one reason Iran is at the negotiating table today, drastically different from 2013 and 2015, is that, yes, while it is talking about sanctions relief, while it is trying to formalize and legalize its nuclear program and quote unquote win against the IAEA and against America and against the P5+1, what Iran is really trying to do here is to buy time, to let the European sanctions, the snapback at the UN expire, which expires this October. And more importantly, Iran is trying to use negotiations with Trump and potentially even a deal under President Trump as something of a human shield to prevent a preemptive Israeli military strike here. And that is why I think they will continue to try to limp along and stay at the table, even though clearly there's a massive gap between their red lines, American red lines, and their public statements.
Yeah, clearly, Iran is, playing the long game and trying to delay as long as possible. But if these talks fail, even with Trump's attempts to do so, do you think Tehran is generally concerned about what could happen?
I do think Tehran is concerned. You even saw that in the undertones of the Supreme Leader's recent speech, where they don't know what might happen if talks collapse, which is why I think they're going to continue to try to bolster as much as their military deterrent as possible. But the real art of the deal here is to prove to Tehran that their exit options, meaning the regime's exit options from talks, are much worse than America's exit options. And part of that means standing by your partner, the Israelis in the Middle East, making sure that they do have a credible military option and marrying that with real negotiating power to get some real meaningful concessions from the Islamic Republic of Iran.
All right. Thank you very much for this comprehensive explanation of clearly a complex topic. Behnam Ben Taleblu, the senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies.
Thank you.